Good evening, everybody. Welcome to a AOR rFactor 2 F1 League. We are in Silverstone today for the round. This is round 8, and this time, even though I am introducing us, I am not alone. Unlike the other times, this time I do have Curtis with me. Yeah, welcome, Curtis.
Hello.
The first time
Yeah, we
we've
like to change
reversed.
things up every once in a
Yeah,
while.
it's the first time we've reversed these roles here, haven't we?
Yeah, we figured it would be a little bit awkward, but awkward is what we do here at rFactor 2.
Usually when we us two commentate, it's usually Curtis that does all the streaming side, the TV controlled side from his end. But this time
Yeah,
we've decided to, reverse the order just for a little fun.
a bit of fun considering it's the home race for just about everyone, including yourself. So why not hand controls over to, well, you?
Good point. Good point. Good point. Okay. Since this is the first time I have you as well, like
Guest?
yeah, as a guest commentator. Not sure if I have volumes fully equipped. Obviously, Discord's volumes don't have them set up usually compared to the game. So if I can have some feedback from anybody in the chat, whether Curtis is too loud compared to the game or vice versa, I can make a quick adjustment and we will be good. So Curtis, Silverstone. I
Yeah.
know. Last race I wasn't here, unfortunately. It was Istanbul, wasn't it? And last I heard, it
Yeah.
was quite an eventful race.
It was. Yeah, it was quite eventful. Possibly one of the most eventful races we've seen here at AOR rFactor 2. Uh, Lots of passing, lots of craziness going on. I think a lot of these drivers just want to put all that behind them. Some tempers flared, as they should. Got a lot of passionate racers here. And that's something that I personally look for in a series when I want to commentate on it. Uh, no matter the game, it doesn't matter what game it is. It could be this, it could be F1 2018, it could be Rocket League, whatever. And it's not about the drama, it's about the passion. Silverstone is one of those tracks that if you race it with a lot of passion, you could potentially be fast. The problem is that you're probably going to burn out your tires too fast. So it's one of those tracks. It's kind of technical. It's definitely a technical track. It's got some great sections that require some finesse, but a lot of flat out as well. So you really have to set up your car accordingly. But yeah, a lot of mistakes can be made as well if you start pushing a little bit too early. So I expect a lot of strategy to come out, and possibly even the harder compounds to come out as well.
Yeah, for sure. Obviously, Silverstone. You probably for each of these drivers. I wouldn't say maybe their favorite track, but probably the one track they'd say they'd want to achieve the most, if that's the correct term. Um, as we see Liam there doing a half spin there whilst we're making a run. Yeah, like this track, basically, it's a very, how do you say, unpredictable track to in terms of how people can perform. Just like you said, strategies will be very important on probably in this track more so than the previous tracks we've encountered. We've already seen in previous tracks how different tire strategies can make or break a driver's race here. Be a difference between reaching a podium or not even finishing the points. Obviously, Canada had a lot of that, which was the last race I commented on. I'm
Oh,
not sure.
sure.
Not sure if Turkey was probably the same. You probably could elaborate
No,
on
you
that.
know what it was. I mean, Turkey is one of those tracks that you have to have your strategy nailed down, and if you have a spin or a bump or something, you need to come into the pits for repairs. You pretty much have to throw all that out the window and start over while trying to race at the same time, and it can be a little bit discombobulating. The the issue here at Silverstone, though, is that you start going a little too fast for your setup or something, and suddenly you find yourself with a three stopper. That's definitely not the fast way to do it. But we have seen in the past where teams would take an extra pit stop and actually plan for it and just push as hard as they can, and they can finish fairly well. The problem is adjusting your driving style to that sort of setup. And if drivers can do that, then they might have a chance to at least get in the points. Of course, the biggest issue here is consistency. Getting those consistent lap times can be a bit of a problem. I know on the endurance side, consistency obviously very well rewarded, and if you're not consistent at all, then you can really bottle it up. Here in the Formula One side of things, you can have a couple of bad laps, but we've seen time and time again that if you can't lay down consistently fast laps, not necessarily the fastest laps all the time, you're gonna have, well, to quote South Park, you're gonna have a bad time.
For sure. Not seeing any feedback from the chat in terms of audio, so I presume everything is a-okay.
Of course, I can adjust on my end too.
Sure. Obviously, like I'm pretty sure everybody can hear you properly above the game, but game isn't too quiet in terms of your voice, so that is
always the hard part, right?
Yeah, that is always the hard part, especially when you haven't done this before. This is the first time I'm handling this side with you here, so
well, good. You're gonna have to get used to it.
Yeah. Sure, for sure. So okay, let's talk about individuals. Craig Baxter. Last time I was here, we were in Canada. He took another win, which was his 6th win out of 6, and kind of made a little, default commentator's curse after with his post-race interview. I asked literally his last question before I ended the stream was, "Can you do the clean sweep?" And he was like, he will try. That's his main goal. And literally the next race, it doesn't happen for him. He gets into a bit of trouble.
Yeah, but Turkey's one of those tracks, though.
Yeah.
No, there's a good balance of. It reminds me a lot of Silverstone. It's a good balance of types of turns, a good balance of, technicality and speed that has to be achieved. But there's also a lot of trust that has to go with who you're racing with. And I like that Silverstone's a little bit later in the calendar, that Turkey is a little bit later in the calendar, and you can develop relationships with drivers on track that you can trust, and some drivers you might have to kind of tiptoe around because they're not familiar with the car, or maybe they're just not quite the fastest. As I'm actually watching Sam Carpenter smoke the front end around basically every corner. It's hilarious. Our 5th place driver at this point. He doesn't have the clean sweep, yes, but he does have a commanding points in the lead in the points, I should say. And we'll get into that as we get into warm up, of course. Sam Carpenter taking a 3rd place now. Fantastic run there for the Sabre car.
Yeah, for sure. Sam Carpenter have been pretty much probably the only guy that's been able to take the fight to both Defiance drivers in the past few races. The battles between him and Davison have been such a joy to watch, personally. In the past, especially Baku comes to mind.
Oh yeah.
Monaco as well. So
Monaco, Canada, yeah.
Yeah, Monaco, Canada. Lots of battles between those two, so you expect to see the same probably. Obviously, Craig Baxter, who's currently fastest, I understand, will serve a grid penalty. I am correct. So he will not be on pole position. I hope I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, that's
about that.
correct.
Yeah.
Yeah, there is a grid penalty to be served. I'm actually trying to pull all that up right now. There was some controversy, if you will. Let's see if I can pull it up real quick. So, there was some controversy with Alfie Lawrenson, and well, suffice to say, go watch the replay. So he's got a back of grid for another reason, actually. Drivers are not allowed to chat during qualifying. It's a huge no-no.
Yeah.
And Alfie did, unfortunately. Like I said, passion. It's all about the passion. So yeah, he's gonna have to go to the back of the grid. He's been one of the fastest guys. Definitely starting to get used to the car, and that's good to see. So I expect him to show a lot of speed here at Silverstone. Um, know that a lot of the drivers they're a little nervous, and that's understandable.
Oh, sure.
There was a
Most of them is their
dive
home track.
bomb move made on a couple of people, but all that has been put behind them. Qualifying is just about to finish out here, at least Q1. That's good to see, Craig, that this qualifying has kind of normalized a little bit. I got Craig Baxter at the top, Scott Davison, the Defiance top 2 here in Qual 1. And then Sam Carpenter, Brandon O'Henlin, James Costello. Kazi, decent 5th place. Hasn't really shown a whole ton of speed yet, but I know that he's shown a lot of potential. Just hasn't quite been able to string it all together, and this time he might be able to. You got Liam Mangan, Max Lister back in the series. Nice, good to see him. Evan Rice is back as well. Good to see him as well. Nick Brackey, Tom Hooper in a 10th place. Not bad. Fred Bodden has decided to not set a qualifying time. Interesting.
I think Frank Bowden has a back of grid as well.
Not that I know of. It's not listed, at least. And he did finish 3rd last race, so kind of an interesting.
Very impressive debut from him.
Oh no, it was a fantastic. Showed a whole ton of speed. I mentioned it a few times last stream that he's got some potential for sure, and he mentioned that this race not necessarily his best, so it may be a little bit of a different story this time out. We'll have to see as the race wears on. He played some strategy and it worked out well for him. Don't know if that's going to repeat. It could be just the maiden voyage good luck. Silverstone will bring that out in him, though, so we'll have to see as qualifying ends. Brandon O'Henlin crosses the finish line and does not improve his time. We'll move into Q2. For those who are not familiar with the format here at rFactor 2, we do not follow the F1 2018 rules as far as qualifying setups go. There is a Q1 and a Q2. So now we go into a top 10 shootout. You'll see the fantastic user-made scoring tower switch modes and only show the 10 drivers racing in qualifying 2. I do have to admit, though, 17 drivers showing up is a fantastic turnout for us here at rFactor 2. We did have a couple of people say they were not able to race for a variety of reasons, and we actually had a couple of people say late that they will be able to come in after saying that they could not. So, drivers actually following the rules. Oh my god!
Not sure how many compared to Turkey. A similar number? 15, can't recall.
I think it was 16. Yeah.
Okay, so it is an increase. Noticeable absent will be. I know Brandon O'Henlin is the only Vulcan car. Max Shepard not being able to race. So Brandon O'Henlin will have to fly the Vulcan flag on his own as the 10 will start to come out. Talked about Brandon during the previous session. He's definitely shown that he's capable of speed, capable of racing with the top guys. He's just going into some pretty bad luck. Getting into incidents most of them probably not his fault. But just getting involved in many contact incidents just kind of ruined his race. And it was the same thing in Canada. I remember. I think he spun out on his own, lost his front wing, and still recovered. Almost took a podium position from Alfie Lawrenson. Really, really entertaining final lap battle between those two.
Yeah, and Brandon will race you clean too. You can always trust that.
Yeah.
He's definitely not going to go for a bump. He's not going to push the envelope too hard. I think that's more of his German roots. He's actually a very respectful racer, funny guy, and definitely wants to just see some good close racing. And if he's involved, you can pretty much guarantee that there won't be a touch or an incident coming from him unless he spins himself off the track or into a wall. but he does push pretty hard. So he's going to have to kind of dial that back, I think, a little bit here at Silverstone if he wants to remain in the top 5. Most of that being, I think we're actually going to see the harder compound tires here, which we haven't seen too much. We saw it at Turkey a little bit, but a lot of drivers were not opting for that. And I think this track in particular lends itself well to hard compounds because of the fact that the track is so abrasive and the high-speed turns just lend itself well to the harder compounds. You know, you got Abbey, you've got Cops, even through Chapel, you know, the tires start to get hot after Maggots and Beckett's. And then Stowe, there's going to be a balance. And I think that the tire strategy will come in to play much more prevalent than basically any other track on the calendar at all. The big thing here, I think, is going to be Sam Carpenter trying to defeat any of the Defiance cars, as well as James Costello. He's had some demons on his back as far as penalties go, so he's going to have to clean up the act a little bit. And Liam Mangan showed a lot of speed last week, but he also needs to clean up little things here and there.
Little
so
spin there from Sam Carpenter as you speak there. Sorry to interrupt.
Commentator's curse. Hello.
As you talk about Scott as well, he made a mistake as well. So both Scott and Sam ruining their first runs. We're on board now with Craig Baxley. He sets 2 first and second purple sectors. Comes to finishes final lap. Liam Mangum makes the fastest lap so far. That should be beaten by Craig Baxley. This last chicane really well. They're currently taking the P1, and Craig Baxter comfortably goes into pole position. A 128.3, almost a full second ahead of James Costello.
Yikes. And there's only 3.5 minutes left in qualifying as well. So right now, we have Craig Baxter at the top of the list. James Costello, Brandon O'Hanlon grabbing a 3rd for now. Liam Mangan, Tom Hooper, and Max Lister have set lap times as well. I expect Tom and Max to both kind of fall down the order a little bit as Scott, Sam, and Evan Rice, possibly Nick Brackey, able to set some times up. The thing is, see, Liam sets a 129. I actually expected Scott and Sam, both of them, to be in the 28s comfortably. Doesn't look like the groove is really working into the track too much. It is kind of a long lap, so not too surprising. And I don't know why, but I sort of expected Baxter to even be in the 27s, but not so much this time. Very odd. Yes.
We switch to Scott Davison. He sets a purple first sector. Very interesting. Obviously, the person who will, if Baxter does set the fastest time, it was the person who finishes second behind him who will take that pole position due to Baxter. Oh, Scott Davison turns to the pits the second time. So that's his second run.
He's
gone.
He's gonna have to fly around the track now. Pit road a little bit longer than normal.
Yeah, that's bizarre for him. Obviously, seen him in practice. Many people before the stream started. Many people really struggling with the circuit.
Sam Carpenter starting his lap as well. He'll have a couple of people in front of him, it looks like, though. So he's going to have to be careful while trying to set the fastest lap that he can. Scott Davison is out on track, going down the Wellington Straight into Brooklands. Evan Rice is well on track in the Sabre Junior car. He's actually behind Scott. Baxter still running. Kind of bouncing around the order just a little bit, trying to update as we go. Liam Mangan, I believe, just set a lap time, but that's not going to be an improvement. Let's see. Scott Davison and Sam Carpenter. Those are the two we should probably be watching as they make their way around the circuit. Scott now making his way down the Wellington Straight, I think. No, that's Hanger. I'm sorry. Making his way into Stowe. He needs to boogie if he wants to get another lap in. He just let one of the Sabre Junior cars by. Didn't quite see who that was. 30 seconds left in Q2 before everybody has to finish out their lap.
And Carpenter just coming around to finish his first time lap. He goes second. So currently in the default pole position. So only 7 tenths behind Craig Baxter's fastest time, who has he's gone faster. I think he's ended his run, so we will go to Scott Davison and finish his time.
He should be able to, yeah, he'll be able to finish this lap out, but he's only got this one chance.
Lock up. Go on board with him.
He was complaining a little bit of lack of front end grip. He's going to have to work the throttle a little bit to get that back end of the car to work for him. He's out of wood coat, looking to go into Cops, expecting huge front tire smoke here, and sure enough, setting up for Maggots. This is flat out. Finally lets off the gas. Front tires are smoking. He's got the rear tire now. Oh, and he spins. Yeah, that was going to be a rough one. Unfortunately, the camera not quite following. I don't know if we were on board for that, but he was pushing really hard for that. And yeah, that's going to end out qualifying. Scott Davison not able to set a time, and he will be 10th place. Brutal qualifying there for the second Defiance car.
That's extraordinary. That's really a missed opportunity, considering teammate Craig Baxter will suffer some grid penalties. Brandon Henlon just coming around the final corner. Complete his lap. He's currently 7th. Will he improve? He does go second! So that is a preliminary pole position for him. He goes faster than Sam Carpenter. Wow, what a lap from him. Presume that is the final car. And that is qualifying finish. So Craig Baxter sets the fastest time with a 1:28.3. Brandon O'Henlon 6 tenths behind, but because Baxter has full grid penalty, it will be Brandon O'Henlon who will be occupying that top spot on the grid, beating Sam Carpenter. Both Sam Carpenter and Scott Davison, who we expected to be the front two, struggling with their lap times.
I'm trying to remember if Brandon O'Henlon has ever had a pole. It's been a little while. There's 3 seasons to go through.
It's definitely not had done this season.
Let me see here. Don't know. I know I have access to the archives. I have to find them. I've never had to go into them. Oh, good Lord, Brandon O'Henlon with a fantastic. Man, that's a great run. We're just as surprised as you guys, ladies and gentlemen. That's awesome. So warm up now begins. Basically, what's going to happen here is everybody's going to head out on the track once the grid is set. They'll be able to head out on the track, make sure their racing setups are set to go, and they have to actually spot their pit boxes, and a lot of people actually forget that. So we want to make sure they know where their pit boxes are so that there's no delay in any of that. Also, grid is set. Yes, got to shake the nerves out. Make sure you're good to go. Make sure your racing set is on. We've seen that before, where drivers forget to put their racing set on. They start the race with 3 laps of fuel. Oops.
As a quite more common mistake that you would think, considering as it's been going on for 3 seasons.
Well, not only that, I mean, just about everyone here has been racing in rFactor 2 for a long time. There's a couple of newcomers, Fred Bodden actually being one of them. This is only his 2nd race in rFactor 2, if I'm not mistaken. At least here at AOR, I know that. It's the 2nd race in at least a long time. I think he mentioned before that he has experience in rFactor itself, but that's one of those little things that you kind of forget with time. You definitely don't want to start endurance that way. That's for sure. Really throws off the pit strategy for sure. But the and for those who may not know, I got my start in endurance racing. I don't know if you knew this, Nino. So open wheel stuff has never been my forte as far as driving it. The technicality of it is I grasp it obviously, but I've never been able to really get a handle on the sheer speed of it. Give me a prototype though, and I'll be there. Don't worry, I'll be right up the top. No worries. But Silverstone, one of those tracks that hosts a lot of different events. Been around for a long time, considered Britain's center of speed, if I'm not mistaken. And Formula One, I think, can produce some of the best racing really on the calendar, on the Formula One calendar. And I expect some of the best racing to be shown here today, especially after the show that we've seen the last few races. It's been absolutely fantastic, Nino. Everyone here slightly on edge because of our last race, but like I mentioned before, everybody's kind of shaking that off, and I realized that this is a new race. The mentality is definitely some fun to be had, simply because everybody knows this track so much.
Yeah. Well, for sure. Like, uh, if you do like a poll, they ask these drivers which track you want to make sure you perform your best at throughout the season. I'd say Silverstone's probably be top of that poll.
We should probably take a look at the driver standings,
Okay,
as we always do during warm up.
Yeah. Up here.
Greg Baxter at the top. He did take a second place in Turkey, so he'll be itching to get to the top of the board today. 168 points. Scott Davison, closest here in second place, took a win at Turkey last time out, 93 points. So he's got some ground to make up still. Sam Carpenter, a DQ and a DNF at the beginning of the season, still haunting him, but he is in third, better than the rest at this point. He does have a chance to catch Scott Davison. He's still got plenty of time left in the season. 78 points for him. Max Lister in fourth. North-South Racing in the top 5. Lister has been showing a lot of speed, but he just hasn't been able to put it together, in my opinion. He's 11 points out of the podium. He has been fairly consistent, actually, in his times. It's just that other drivers have been faster than him, so he's got some work to do, as I don't think he does have a ton of time to practice, but the fact that he's still in fourth place in the point standings is fantastic. Alfie Lawrenson has had some fantastic runs as well. Just rules infractions, unfortunately for him, has plagued him quite a bit. 50 points now for the top 5 Team Tepa. Vulcan Racing making a showing in the top 10 at number 6. Brandon O'Henlin has actually missed a couple of races. I think he's had some work things come up and just life in general. 43 points for him. Max Shepard, the other Vulcan car who is not here today, sits right behind him, 42 points, literally right behind him. And the Vulcan cars usually link up on track, and Brandon will not have that luxury this time out. Nick Brackey in the Sabre Jr. Is here today. He's not running a full season for a variety of reasons. Our car tester and resident person to blame for the faults in the car. 33 points for him. He actually built these cars, programmed them, and made the... he just did a variety of things, Nino. I don't know if you knew that. But yeah, good stuff. James Costello, in his debut season, 25 points and still in the top 10, has been able to score points in all the races that he's competed in, which is a fantastic feat for him. Normally a commentator here at Apex Online Racing, does F1 2018. I mention that pretty much every stream, but I think it's great that the commentators even get in on the racing every once in a while as well. Keep those senses sharp. Liam Mangan, the other North-South Racing car on the track, 22 points for him, has a DNF and 2 no-shows, as well as no points scored in Canada. Odd, but 22 points to his credit. And then we get into the non-full-timers, other than Sam Rowlett in the Rookie Monsters car. Morgan Soom also not here today. Don't know exactly what happened with Sam, but he's not racing as well. A couple of other notables. Tom Hooper is here today. In the other Sabre Junior, he is not running a full season. Wants to improve here. I don't think. Sven Laumann is here, the slower of the Rookie Monsters. He's here. He's got a couple of points to his credit, and pretty much everyone else not able to race for pretty much the rest of the season. The Philip Schiff actually is here today in the Infinix squad. I don't know if you've seen their livery, but it is fantastic. Black and white, stark contrasts, and it looks great on track. As apparently we've lost Nino.
I'm here. I'm here.
I went on the rant about points.
Oh, okay. Switch over to the team standings now.
Yes.
Did Defiance Racing 261 points in a league of their own. The only team in 3 figures. That tells you the dominance that they've set throughout the past 7 races. It is Sabre Racing who is second place. Point shared between Sam Carpenter, Nick Brackey, and Philip Kraus. Sam Carpenter is representing Sabre Racing. North-South in third with 89. Max Lister and Liam Mangan. Say most of that is Max Lister, but Liam has had his fair share of good performances as well. Vulcan Racing, obviously Max Shepard and Brandon Henn, as you said, they were both pretty much have the same points. Nearly, I think there was one point between them. Team Tepper in 5th. Alfie Lawrence and James Costello. Expect to see good performance from both of them. Probably want to see a return of their early season form. Sabre Junior is Nick Brackey and Evan Rice. In 6th place in 31. Rookie Monsters in 7th. Sam Rowlett and Sven Laumann. 16. MSDB number 8 with 15 points. That is currently Morgan Somoni today. And
that's pretty much all of the full-time teams.
Yep.
The rest of them have not been able to race much, and we don't count the test cars.
They're just on their own.
Well, it's not that they're they're on a team, registered as a team, but they don't have a livery, and most of that is because they're just simply not full-time drivers, or they came in late, or late additions to the series, a variety of reasons. Some of those drivers who ran the test cars also maybe wanted to give it a shot, see if they liked it, and for whatever reason not able to commit to full-time. So we are just about to move into the race mode, as the drivers will be able to make final preps, make sure that their cars are set to go, make sure they're fueled up before joining the grid. Hopefully we can see the 5 red lights this time, because in Turkey we could not. So I'm sitting here, I totally sat here thinking that something was wrong and someone didn't line up right, and suddenly they started. What in the world?
Okay, I've never seen that before. Hopefully it works.
Yeah, it was a little bit odd, but it is what it is. Welcome to rFactor, everybody.
Not everything works completely time,
or even as intended.
Yeah.
So, Craig Baxter did have his grid penalties served. Brandon O'Hendon will start on the pole. Then you have Sam Carpenter, Max Lister. Craig Baxter will start from the second row in position 4. So he'll have a little bit of racing to do. And then we had our back of grids as well, positioned down. We'll go through the grid as we move through into race, there are still a couple of people on track making sure their setups are good to go. One Fred Bodden, he should know. You just escape. It's the end of warm-up, sir. Sir. Excuse me, sir.
I'm not sure if he knows.
Someone get his engineer on the phone.
He's going out as if he's setting up a proper lap time. So someone should tell him very quickly. Formation lap whilst he's still out on track.
Yeah, exactly. Someone actually asked in the chat, in the game chat, if drivers have to start on max fuel. Now, we don't do refueling here in this series, so you do have to actually calculate how much fuel you're going to be using. In most races, you actually don't have to run a full tank, but in this particular race, because you're on the throttle for so long and for so much, you do basically have to run full tanks, and that's not by choice. That's because of the track we're at. The fuel strategy is obviously to run the least amount of fuel as possible. The problem, of course, then becomes you'll have to start conserving. And conservation in this league is not a great thing, Nino. I don't know if you've ever seen drivers try to conserve fuel here, but it really just doesn't go well. You have to calculate for flat out all the time. Otherwise, you will run out of fuel.
Oh yeah, and when this league was before AOR and was the Nebula, I've actually seen someone run out of fuel. Right
Yeah,
at the end. I don't know if it's
we've
happened
seen it here a couple of times.
Okay.
It's rare, but we do see it every once in a while where drivers just didn't quite calculate enough for trying to pass and using the different fuel mixtures as we head out onto our formation laps, the scouting lap, trying to make sure you know where the line is and make sure everything is good to go. We're actually seeing some hard compound strategies come out, and that's good to see. As just kind of going down the order here. Brandon O'Henlin on the pole, his first pole in quite a long time. I think there was a pole in season 1, but he'll start on the hards. Sam Carpenter starting on the mediums on the outside of the first row. You got Max Lister inside of row 2. Looks like he is also on mediums. Yes. And then you have Craig Baxter starting 4th. He'll start on the hards. Evan Rice for Sabre Jr. actually starting on soft. Interesting call there. And Liam Mangan on the mediums in 6th place. 7th place, you have Nick Brackey in a Sabre car. Yes. Let me see. I can't quite see what exactly tires he's on. Looks like he will be on hards as well. Tom Hooper starting on softs in the Sabre Junior in 8th place. You have Scott Davison, the other Defiance car, starting on mediums. He'll be looking for some early passes, I'm sure, before those tires wear out. Then you have Jurka Slovenak starting in 10th. Because of grid penalties and back of grids, he ends up in the top 10. Jurka... I always forget what team he is on.
Volante Racing.
Volante, that's right, yes. Then you have Philip Schiff in 11th. Yeah, that's what he'll be starting there. That's the Infinix squad. Oh, God, I love that. Love that livery. You have James Costello starting in 12th. Kazi looking to make a good run here. I think he wants to kind of validate the fact that he is a commentator and he knows what he's talking about. Sven Laumann in the Rookie Monsters car starting 13th. He will be on the medium compounds. Rookie Monsters has a lot of support in their team, so I think he's going to be looking for a better position than that. Stefan Keimberger, 14th. You have Julian Klingmar in 15th. Fred Bodden in 16th. Then you have Alfie Lawrenson and Hayden Rhodes rounding out the field. We're just about to get started here, looking for the red lights. Everybody is on the grid. It will be Brandon O'Henlin to bring them down the front stretch. And into Abbey and through Farm. Should be some close racing as everyone holds their breath, waiting for the flags to fly. The lights have gone out. Brandon O'Hanlon did not get a great start. It's a huge bunch up at the front of the field, and Sam Carpenter takes the lead. It'll be Max Lister and Craig Baxter duking it out for second place. Baxter slotting himself into second. There's a car off the track. Not quite sure who that is. Brandon O'Hanlon drops all the way to fifth. Did not get a great start at all, and a massive pile up in the backfield.
That's a massive, I see a lot of front wings. Fred Borden, I see he's lost his front wing. Right at the back there, both Team Tepper cars I think got caught in that as well. Nick Brackey as well in the Sabre. Yeah, at least 6 or 7 cars kind of going off there or getting involved. And I think I have a yellow going slow.
Is that a full track yellow? Yes, it is.
Yes, it is. Yes. So nobody is retired yet. I think Fred is the only one who's lost his thing, if I am correct. That.
Cycling through the field myself just to see. No, there was one other. Hayden Rhodes has actually lost his front wing as well.
Yep. So that is 2 cars who have to at least go into the pits to repair the damage. If anybody else has escaped, but as we saw in that first corner, Brandon O'Hanlon not getting a very good start, and the advantage of pole position wiped away by the first corner.
Yeah, it looks like he messed up on the launch control. A little bit tricky on the launch control. We've actually seen quite a few drivers mess up that sequence, but yeah, so a full course yellow, we don't see that too often at all here at AOR rFactor 2. I think it's the first time that we've seen that. We have seen no, we haven't even seen a red flag, but a lot of pit callers coming in. Fred Bawden looks like he's lost his front ring as well.
And so we have Hayden Rhodes, Fred Borden, Brackey coming into the pits as well, and Tom Hooper as well. So those are 4 cars who've sustained the damage that they have to repair.
There was a lot. We're gonna have to review that.
Yeah.
Once the replay is available, but that actually slots Alfie Lawrenson into 10th place. James Costello right behind him, and we did see one of the Team Tepa cars actually off the track. You see the pace car is out, so interesting, very, very interesting start. That's possibly the weirdest start that we've had ever.
Yep.
With this series joining AOR, Scott Davison slots himself into 7th place. He's still got a lot of work to do, and Craig Baxter actually finds himself in 2nd after that huge kerfuffle at the start. We kind of knew, I think at the back of our minds, Nino, we knew that the start was going to be kind of crazy, but we never really expect anyone to botch the start procedure in these cars like that. Brandon O'Hanlon just got a terrible start. I think that really just bunched up the field behind it.
So I am currently broadcasting a replay of the start. So see Brandon O'Hanlon just didn't get any acceleration off the start, and we see the bunch of cars at the back there behind him going off. Those 4 cars that passed Brandon O'Hanlon. I can fast forward to run off. From Jurka Slovenac's move. Oh, that's him. The Jurka Slovenac went into turn 3. Pretty much didn't brake at all. So he takes out a car. I can't remember which car was that, but that was one of his. This is Fred Borden. His perspective. Oh, he just collects the cars that are stationary right in front of him, so not really his fault. So we're back to live now.
I was actually able to watch that through the YouTube player. That was
yeah,
that was crazy.
Not really clean start there, you would say.
Definitely not.
Yeah.
I would expect some passion being shown in the drivers Discord chat. And for those drivers who are watching back, you can actually join the Discord voice chat if you wish. Honestly, I think it's a great idea. Just, everybody's usually pretty quiet throughout the race, but when things are going wrong or you're having an issue, you're able to communicate that to everyone so that they know that they can get around you. Uh, Personally, I think it should be a requirement, but that's just me. What do I know? I'm just a commentator. Hello. So yeah, odd start here at Silverstone. That by far was. You know what I'm just gonna say? That's by far one of the worst starts that I've ever seen in rFactor 2. In nearly 10 years of being involved in rFactor in some form, that has to be one of the worst, easily the worst start that I've ever seen in any series that I've raced in or commentated on.
Yeah. It was not pleasant to watch. But Sam Carpenter, the beneficiary, the poor start there from Brandon O'Hanlon, currently takes the lead, but Treybax is right behind him. So pace car does come in, ready to pounce. And definitely want to see another battle between these two. We've seen plenty over the season.
The north-south cars right behind him, though, they'll be ready to pounce. And it looks like... So we're having a bit of an audible because of these two pace car laps. Mind you, this is automatically done by the rFactor simulation, so they will be ending the race at the end of lap 36. So we will not be doing 38 laps. The safety car has actually added laps. The counter itself has actually not been going up. So unfortunately, that's not something that we can control through rFactor. That's a tough one, unfortunately. So they're going to end the race at lap 36. And, we might want to mark that down somewhere. And for those watching, if you're wondering why we're going to end at 36, that's why. Because it has been said by the coordinators.
The shame him considering achieved a very great podium position in Turkey. No repeat of that here in Silverstone.
Safety car, yeah, I can see the YouTube chat. Yeah, safety car is very, very slow. I mean, it's less than pit lane speed, if I'm not mistaken. It definitely feels like it. I don't know why they're using an old Corvette. They should probably bring out the old Mercedes, or, or at least a new Corvette. Come on, guys.
Man, really hope they come in this lap. This is sympathizes with the chat. It is very slow. Yeah.
And you know what? To be fair, we've never actually had a safety car come out in this series. I don't know if that happened in the Nebula days or not, but here at Apex Online Racing, since I've been commentating them, there has been no safety cars. There has, if I'm not mistaken, there has been a red flag, but that's it. So definitely unprecedented. And so the coordinators have called an audible, and I think it's a good idea. Just negate those 2 laps, and we're going to run the counter to 36. And of course, the coordinators can freeze the field at that point, and that will be the finishing order. And we're going to have to keep that in mind as well, Nino, because it's not going to tell us that it's the end of the race. It's just going to just keep going, unfortunately. So the other rule for this is that drivers cannot overtake until after the start finish line. Now, that means basically that you can get up alongside someone, but a full-on overtake cannot happen. So possibly some strategy to be played out here. You can see the drivers are weaving. That is allowed. There is a high level of driver skill that is expected, and that drivers should be aware that there will be weaving, and you should be leaving room anyways, no matter what, because of lag and a variety of things happening throughout just the simulation racing rules. Now, through the final corner, the field goes. Sam Carpenter launches the field, and we are underway again here at Silverstone. And Sam Carpenter absolutely flying through the final corner. Craig Baxter didn't quite get the start, and it was not a jump, as the North-South guys duking it out here for the final podium position. And you can see our pole sitter Brandon O'Henlon in 5th place. The Vulcan trying to fight his way through the North-South squad, and it looks like this one will be a clean start.
Forward with Liam Manga there. He makes a move on his teammate Max Lister for 3rd place. I think he gets it done. He does. In the inside, he takes 3rd place from Max Lister. Will now be under threat from Brandon O'Henlon. Ahead, Carpenter's been fought very rapidly by Craig Baxter. Anything else at the back?
We saw Alfie Lawrenson take 10th place from his teammate James Costello. We kind of expected that, and he'll be going after Jurgen Slovenak here in just a few moments, I'm sure, as they make their way through Maggots and Beckett's and set up for Chapel. Everyone else has kept it basically pretty clean.
I mean, the front two have pretty much already, you can see, opened the gap to the rest of the field. Kind of expected. The action comes straight back to maybe. Obviously, no DRS for the first 2 laps after safety car.
You might want to catch up on Alfie Lawrenson.
Sam Carpenter's. Wait, am I on it?
The whole top of the field has.
Yeah. I thought
yeah,
it was
there's a red flag. Something's happened.
Definitely, I thought that was my end. I was very confused, but that is a red flag situation.
A lot of people have straight up DNF'd, and it looks like possibly the server has died.
Oh dear.
Stefan Keimberger has just stopped on track, and I think that's a great idea. As what in the world has happened? You know, I'm gonna jump down into the voice chat, and we'll figure that out.
Okay.
Give me just a second.
So Curtis is currently searching to see what happens. Not sure myself. I definitely thought it was my end. Maybe an error on my end, seeing Sam Carpenter go off, but everybody else seemed to go off with him. Very weird. That we will be waiting for Curtis to return update, and that is hello. Oh. Okay. All right.
It's definitely not. It's unprecedented. Let's just put it that way. So
okay, apologies on the stream, Curtis. I had you muted, unfortunately, when you said all that.
So to kind of explain, the safety car for some reason bugged the server, and the race mode kind of went berserk, and a lot of drivers lost input to the server. So just all kinds of things happened all at once, and so they basically called a red flag. They're going to restart the race, and because this is simulation racing, they're able to basically just reinstate the grid and force the server into the status that it was at the beginning of the race. Because a lot of laps haven't been completed, the real road, and by what I mean by the rear road, and that's the racing line, can be saved and set up to uh, basically mimic whatever was going on at the time of the restart. So we're basically going to have the same order as when the red flag happened. The leader of the pack will basically act as a pace car, and we're going to have essentially a formation lap, sans pace car. After the um, after the first lap, and I assume as we cross the finish line, we're going to go green, and there you go. Race begins at that point.
Okay.
Uh, Essentially, what has to happen, and this is going to look really weird. What's going to have to happen is everybody will go to the grid when the race session starts. Everybody will go to the grid, but the thing is, nobody can move. If nobody moves, it'll skip the formation lap. We'll see the 5 red lights go off, or the green flag fly, one or the other. And at that point, everybody will take off slowly in the same order that the red flag happened. And the server will then start as a formation lap. That'll be lap 1. Lap 2 begins the race.
Yeah,
And we'll complete the race from there.
that's a quick explanation there. Apologies to everybody on stream for that occurring. You've never seen that before.
Yeah, that's a new one.
A weird one, yeah. Um,
I'm trying to think. A lot of series. This is one of the reasons why a lot of series don't run standing starts, because of little things like this. Obviously, this has to do with the mod. The mod was never designed to have a safety car come out, and for some reason it did this time. And like we mentioned before, this has never happened. It's not something that ever happens. It's literally the first time. So unplanned completely, but there is contingencies in place because the coordinators have ran leagues for quite a long time. They know that stuff happens, and I think this might be a bug that's actually been carried over from rFactor 1. I remember this happening in rFactor 1 before when using custom mods, and the server's going to restart now with everything in place. So everything that you're seeing right now is sort of normal for rFactor 2. uh, and it's just one of those things that we have to try to get the best racing experience that we can give our drivers. And so everybody will rejoin the server. There's been a server restart, essentially, is what has happened. That restarts the weekend, and then the coordinators have control over the what session will be in as far as practice or qualifying or whatever. And so we're going to see some skipping happen. I don't know if you're actually showing it, Nino, but uh, basically a complete restart essentially is going to happen. It just looks weird from our side.
Currently, I'm not showing it. Restart of the server.
Okay, good. It's this does take a little time, unfortunately, and we're so used to not having these kinds of glitches that the viewers are going to be wondering what in the world is going on. And I can tell you that basically we're blowing everything up.
Yeah.
That's pretty much
in
yeah.
yeah, in simplistic terms, you could say.
We're gonna blow everything up and then we're gonna rebuild it, all in a span of 5 minutes. So bear with us, viewers. We know this is a little bit unprecedented here at Apex Online Racing, but I hopped into the voice chat where everybody's kind of hanging out, and surprisingly calm. Uh, some instructions were being obviously barked out because they want to do this as quickly as possible, but surprisingly calm. Everybody knew what to do. Everybody is getting their jobs done, and in my opinion, that's one of the things that I think drivers need to look for is that the coordinators stay calm and get the job done. And
Yep.
they have to do what they have to do. And sometimes that requires slightly drastic measures such as this. But we will have a race today. Just a weird glitch that nobody has ever seen, I think.
Now the
Yeah, so we're going to be moving once everything gets reset. They're going to use this practice, quote unquote, practice session to get the data loaded back onto the server. For those that are familiar with rFactor 2, the real road, otherwise known as the groove in the track, the rubber being laid down, has to be reloaded in. That can be done. And then once they go into the warm up, they'll be able to actually load the previous grid. So the positions at which the drivers were in will be able to be loaded back on. And uh, essentially, a full restart can happen. I think I sounded like I knew what I was talking about.
very convincing. Yes.
Yes, very good.
Good. Good. No. Very good explaining to all the viewers out there who were very confused as to the situation. So I hope that clears everything up. Hope not delay any further.
And I think it's safe to say that a lot of people, especially in the endurance side, they expect these servers to run, fully all the time, 100%, where everything is right. It's these unforeseen circumstances that can make or break a series. And knowing that the coordinators here at least on the Formula One side, have an idea as to what's going on, and I've been able to kind of hang out with these guys, and you've known these guys for years as well. Believe it or not, these guys are actually they're quite smart. They may make dumb decisions on track, but they're quite smart outside of racing. So this stuff, luckily, can be figured out, and it just takes a little time, mostly for the server to update and do its thing. But yeah, a bit of a note for drivers: if some of you guys happen to be watching, you need to load your same setups and you need to load your same tires. Ken, I see you. I see you in the chat. Not racing. What are you doing, man? Great race so far. Gee, trying to give us a hard time. Ken White, a former racer here at rFactor on AOR, and we can see the grid is being loaded. This is the time to do that. And once we go into the race session, just to kind of recap, Nino, once we go into race session, the grid will load in, or everybody will load into the grid, I should say. And then the formation lap will be skipped. There will be the official one will be skipped. And then the leader will actually run the field around in a formation lap at pit lane speed. Once they hit the start finish line, the race then begins. Passing will be able to happen.
Going through the skipping of the sessions, because obviously when the server restarts, the whole weekend restarts. Practice, qualifying session, then race. We're just skipping through qualifying and warm up sessions. Shouldn't be that much longer.
And certain steps have to be taken in a certain order when it comes to rFactor, and
Yeah.
when little things like this pop up, it does take a little bit of time to get it all set back up. Zombie Gamer Girl, I feel like we should have gotten some hold music or something. Oh my god. Nino, do you have any elevator music handy?
Handy, but I
Quickly searches through Spotify. So we've been given the 20-second marker. to for drivers to make sure that we do run an anti-cheat here just to make sure everything is good, is good to go. So that's got to be ran. Drivers need to make sure that they have the same tires and their setup run. So that's 3 for the drivers. The coordinators have also they have now set the grid, and they'll be moving into the next session, which will be the race session. More instructions will be given to the drivers as we begin. So about 45 seconds of time for drivers to join the grid.
Hope
So
you'll like that impromptu elevator music that I played for like 30 seconds. Um, hope that made your wait much shorter as we looks like we're about to start.
Right. So basically, here's what's going to have to happen to kind of recap. Sam Carpenter, who is in the lead in the race technically, will act as the safety car, quote unquote. He's going to probably be running around on essentially the pit limiter. Will this affect the cars? No. It's the very beginning of the race. You should be fine. Everybody will join the grid in their respective positions that they're supposed to be in. And then nobody's going to move. The countdown will end, and the server will think it's supposed to be a formation lap. That will actually be negated. Once that's negated, Sam will go, and you can hear that there is now a yellow. And so everybody's going at safety car speed, and now there's a DNF. Oh, boy.
Oh.
Okay, they're going back to warm up. Something happened. Uh-oh. And we'll have to wait and
rFactor.
see. Yeah.
Nothing serious.
Yeah, so we have gone back to warm up. This is one of the issues with rFactors when you do have a problem with something like this, it can kind of cause a little bit of chaos. And sometimes it's the user error, and sometimes it's just rFactor being funny. Almost all the time, rFactor is fine. Everything runs the way it's supposed to run, the way it's designed. But every once in a while there are hiccups. So I want to thank everyone in the crowd for hanging out. I know it's a little bit tedious, but you can imagine that the coordinators are running around like their butts are on fire. Let's face it. Essentially, the instruction being given to drivers right now, Nino, and I know you can't see it right now. The instruction is to not touch anything once they join grid.
Yeah.
So don't turn the wheel. Don't touch a button. Do nothing. And the reason why we went into the warm-up session is because that's where the grid is set.
Now.
So some time is being given to get the setups. Sam, I guess we could probably say that Sam Carpenter actually has control of the server. So hashtag blame Sam on Twitter. He's got a sense of humor. Don't worry about it. So drivers need to make sure their setups are good to go, have the correct tires on, have the correct fuel in the car. This is the responsibility of the drivers. It looks like they turned the safety car off. They must have found that option. So that's good to see. That's a man. I've never seen a safety car actually be deployed. That is a weird one. And so the grid has been set. Everything looks pretty much the way it should. A couple of people did leave the race. It could have been a weird rejoin error, so that some time being given to them to join if they wish, or maybe not, up to them. And it looks like one of them has come back. It does take a little time to load into these servers. For those who are not familiar with rFactor 2, there is a little bit of time. So we've also been informed that Fred Bodden, for some reason, his game has actually crashed and is frozen on his screen. So he was actually asked to. He has asked the coordinators to actually kick him from the server. So swift kick in the rear end for him, and he's out. And we're just waiting for those that for some reason dropped out of the server to join back in. We do have 2 back. I believe we're waiting on 1. And for some reason, I spelled ouch with a T.
Nice.
I can talk, but I can't spell, apparently.
Pretty common spelling mistake, if I can.
Yeah, totally common. Everybody does that. What? So the grid is being adjusted. And we're now advancing into the race session. So basically what the drivers need to do here is just don't touch anything. They will have to have auto clutch on. And I think that a lot of people don't have that. If anybody leaves the race at this point, they're out of the race.
Yes, we've had roads left. Not sure what's going to happen there, but start again. One has loaded in.
Now Fred Bodden has been kicked. He will not be joining because he's having issues with rFactor 2 on his machine apparently.
Is the lights going?
So we're going to have essentially Sam Carpenter acting as a safety car.
Is the impromptu coordinate for that?
Essentially, yes.
Yes. But it will count on our over as lap 1. Not to worries. But yeah, apologies for the long delay there. Hopefully everything is up to shape, everything is okay. Everybody seems to be working fine. Safety car is off, so we will not see that reappear today's race.
I don't know why they chose the slowest Corvette ever. Seriously, what in the world? Right.
So
we're about halfway through this formation lap. Everybody's going to start in a line. Just so you know, there will be no 2x2 start. Okay. I have to assume that everybody will close up ranks once we get closer to the start line. Sam Carpenter leading the field, and that'll put Craig Baxter, Max Lister, Liam Meng, and Brandon O'Henlin in for the top 5. Evan Rice, Scott Davison, Phil Schiff, Jerka Slovanek, and Alfie Lawrenson for the rest of the top 10. James Costello, Nick Brackey, Stefan Keimberger, Julian Klingelmar, Tom Hooper, and Sven Lammen will round out the field. Rejoin is possible for Hayden. I believe I don't know if he lagged out or something happened, but does have a little bit of time to actually rejoin before the race starts. I think he'll just have to start at the back of the field, or essentially from the pits. So, field is starting to close up. Sam Carpenter at the head of the field. And we'll just be looking for a safe restart through the final corner. And Sam Carpenter crosses the start-finish line. Essentially, at this point, the start line. And for lap 2, we will begin the British Grand Prix. Cold tires, cold brakes, and everything, unless the drivers were smart enough to try to warm those up. But already, Craig Baxter challenging Sam Carpenter for the lead. And it looks like it's going to be a clean start. We will begin the British Grand Prix with a potential pass here. Craig Baxter to the inside of Sam Carpenter. Oh, they go side by side.
Oh.
If Carpenter can keep this here, there's a touch.
Oh, there's a touch there.
Now Carpenter to the inside. We'll just cut across the grass and try to rejoin safely. Oh, that is a huge, huge break for the Sabre car.
That's a pretty unfortunate event there. I think Craig Baxter had the slipstream going down the straight, and Craig probably thought he had the move done. Sam Carpenter didn't really want to give up there. He retained the inside, and he's the one that goes spinning and not Craig. Very odd there. Very unlucky for him. But we will go back to the front. Craig Baxter now leads the race. Max Lister ahead of North-South Racing teammate Liam Mangan. Scott Davison in 4th. Evan Rice now in 5th. Brandon O'Hanlon has fallen to the back of the field. Not sure why that is. I'll try and see if I can get a replay of that first. See if we can try and get a replay of Sam Carpenter's incident.
Bit of racing between Jurka Slovenak and Alfie Lawrenson. Pretty clean so far. Pushing the edges of the track a little bit, but Alfie has the inside through this. And Jurka gonna have to let him go, and he'll find himself into a Team Tepa sandwich. So they make their way down the Wellington Straight. Pass made right through Village, it seems.
You see Scott Davison getting past Liam Mangan for 3rd place now, as he continues his recovery. He did start the very first race, starting from 9th. So he's already up to 3rd. Just the other North-South Racing car, Max Lister, between him and his teammate, Craig Baxter, who currently leads the race.
Lister, a fantastic run here for North-South. They'll be trying to hold off Scott Davison. Not an easy thing to do. Scott has so much speed as of late. Liam Mangan showing pretty good for now in 4th place, but he does have a quite fast Evan Rice and Sam Carpenter behind him to contend with. For now, he's not able to hold off Scott Davison. I think there might have been some gentlemanly let go there. But yeah, I thought possibly that Jurka Slovenak will be able to hold off, but Slovenak actually falling down the order. He's sitting in 10th place. He's got a Nick Brackey, Julian Klingelmar, and Stefan Keinberger bunching up behind him. Slovenak definitely not showing a whole ton of speed in the Volante. Oh, nice slide there from Julian Klingelmar, it looked like. I think Slovenak might be having some connection issues. We saw him jump around the order just a little bit, but Nick Brackey will be looking to get by him, the other Sabre car. Oh, and a big lag. Nick Brackey having connection issues, it seems. He's going to fall behind Julian Klingelmar at this point. Actually blinking on my screen. That's not something we've seen in quite a long time.
Yep, Scott Davison getting past Max Lister for 2nd.
Oh, I'm sorry?
Scott Davison now getting past Max Lister for 2nd place. So and then we return to the Defiance 1-2. Scott Davison now dispatching both of the North-South Racing cars. Take 2nd place. Sam Carpenter has recovered. He's now right at the back of Ian Mangan. Through Maggots, Beckett. He will try and make a move surely at the end of this lap. He does have Evan Rice right behind him.
Got the slipstream here, Carpenter. On Liam Mangan. Gonna make something happen here through Stowe. Slots it up the inside. Mangan not necessarily letting him go, but Carpenter definitely had the line. He's got some grip in that Sabre car. He's trying to make his way up towards the front of the field to possibly challenge Scott Davison. I think Davison has spun. Bit of a half spin here, and through the final corner, it's going to be Carpenter challenging Scott Davison on the inside, trying to set up through Abby. This is very... Oh, that's close. A bit of a touch off the track, a touch a little bit there for Scott Davison, but he will lose the position going into Village. And a potential for a challenge here again from Liam Mangan, but not going to happen. Sam Carpenter slots himself into third place.
Back and forth between so many drivers here today, and we've seen so many mistakes. Sam Carpenter getting involved with Craig Baxter in contact. Scott Davison, who's been coming up the field, gaining position, making his own mistake, has now fallen back down to fourth. He's got to do that work all over again. Yeah, this train of cars is probably going to continue overtaking each other through the some time to come. See if we Scott Davison can get right to the back, but I think he's got Liam Mangan in this slipstream coming through the S's.
Saw some tire smoke from Sam Carpenter. He's pushing hard through Maggots and Beckett's. So he's going to have to be a little bit careful, though. Bit of a fight between Evan Rice and Liam Mangan as well behind those two. Evan Rice on the softer compound compared to Liam, so Evan will want to attempt to at least a pass here soon. Those tires will wear out quite quickly. Or maybe he'll just chill behind Liam. Liam has been dubbed, and he kind of dubbed himself the Chungus of the series. Which I think is absolutely hilarious. Mind you, his words.
Strange, that very strange.
Great.
But he does have to defend now from Evan Rice, who does have DRS. Can't get close enough. Defending there. Ahead of him, Davis and Sam Carpenter getting very close as well. Switch over to them. Davison does get very wide there. Some track. Sam Carpenter ahead of him.
And it looks like Carpenter has elected to take a bit of a more conservative line through Maggots and Beckett's and out through Chapel. And I think it's a great idea. Because of the tire smoke in the last lap through that section of track, tires probably a little bit heated, and this particular mod and the tires actually are very sensitive to heat degradation. So Carpenter does not want to have to come into the pits early because of that. He's going to start losing time fairly quickly. In the coming laps, I think probably lap 15 will be the time to watch Carpenter to see if he starts to lose a lot of time, at least to Davison. But both of these guys starting to catch up to Max Lister, who's having a fantastic run through into second place for now, at least. Lister seems to be quite fast through the slower corners, but Carpenter and Davison have actually closed up on him, so DRS is now involved. Expect a race to break out there soon as Davison actually runs wide through Brooklands.
I think Davison just needs to keep his composure. I know he's berating himself for a mistake that cost him 2 positions. Worked so hard to get up to second place. He knows he has the speed. He just needs to calm down a bit. We'll get close again. Still very early on in the race. Still another 25 laps to go. The yellow flag and noted.
For some reason, I'm showing yellow flags all over the place. I have to reload my timing here. Yeah, 7 laps have been completed. Liam Mengen with the fastest lap, a 134.287. That will be broken. But Liam's starting to lay down some fast ones here.
I think Scott Davison's getting very close to the back, and Sam Carpenter's responded. He's taken a very good line. He'll be right in the slipstream with Max Lister. Will he make the overtake here? He goes for the dive! Will there be any contact? Max Lister gives him room. He does back out. Sam Carpenter does make the move.
Oh man, that was close.
Very close there between those two, and I think Scott Davison will fancy his chances now on Max Lister.
Was there contact between Carpenter and Lister on your side?
I don't think there was. I think Max Lister was holding his line, but decided to give way there. Unlike Sam Carpenter, when he was being overtaken by Craig Baxter, which resulted in the contact between them two. Max Lister fought smartly and decided to back out of there. So they both get away with that.
Lister has always been one of those clean racers. You know, if he knows that he's not going to be able to take a position, he will back off. So it's fantastic to see some heads-up racing here in the Apex Online Racing Formula 1 Championship. So I want to thank everyone for staying tuned. I know it's been a little bit of a crazy stream, but we are underway. 8 laps completed here at the British Grand Prix, and Scott Davison starting to get very close to Max Lister now. Davison to the inside. Lister, I must have just saw him. He does run wide, but he has the inside through this section of corners. Trying to set up for the Wellington straight. Lister will hold the position for now, and DRS is now active. Davison dives to the inside. That is well and truly passed, but Davison might have overshot the corner. He does manage to keep it under control. Lister just right there, and Lister will actually lose another position, and now North-South is out of the top 3.
Very tough for Lister there. I think Sam Carpenter and both Carpenter and Davison getting in their stride now. We know those two are very quick when it comes to it, so Dispatch go through a couple mistakes that both of them have made. Running away with it, they're back second and third. Further back, I think we've had a DNF from Tom Hooper.
We have, yeah, it looks like just some suspension damage. Unfortunately, I didn't quite see what happened with that. There are a couple of spots here at Silverstone where if you run wide, you're going to hurt your car. And also, if you run to the inside too much, you're going to hurt the car. So Tom Hooper realizing that he's not going to be competitive, so better to get off the track than to be a moving chicane, if you will. So credit to him. That's unfortunate, but kudos to him. And honestly, kudos to the coordinators for keeping their cool and making sure this race does happen, as Davison does run wide through that section of track that looks like the loop, and he'll head out onto the Wellington straight trying to catch Sam Carpenter, but Sam has effectively checked out into second place. Taking a look at the live timing, fastest lap right now for the race is a 1:33.2 set by Craig Baxter. Not bad for him. Craig, he's got a 10-second gap basically on the rest of the field. We kind of expect that from him, Nino, but I think there's just been a whole kerfuffle, and he's basically just taking advantage. A big spin! Liam Mengen off the track, able to keep it off the wall, though. I don't know if there was contact between him and Evan Rice, I believe, was involved in that, as Lister was actually in front of them. But that is a huge one. Liam has got to be fuming over that, and he finds himself in front of James Costello. Causey not having the greatest run of his career at all, but now he finds that Liam Mengen might have some flat spots on his tires and could potentially gain a position here and maybe even catch up to his teammate Alfie Lawrenson, who has shown a ton of speed as of late. But Alfie holding back for now, finds himself in 6th. I have to admit, I did expect Alfie to be a little bit higher up, but reflecting back, Max Lister has shown quite a bit of speed in seasons past here at Silverstone, and he might be able to take advantage of that with a top 5. I know I'm jumping around drivers just a little bit, but yeah, that right there is something that we touched on, Nino. This track can reach out and bite you if you're not careful. Can't push too hard, but you got to push hard enough to stay in contention, if you will.
I'm watching a replay of Liam's spin there. He spun it on his own. He went wide in that turn. What a wheel on the grass. Just lost it on his own. That was a pretty unforced error there by Liam Mangan. So,
nobody to be angry at other than yourself.
But, very upset with himself about that. Lost 2 positions there. For a cover, obviously having Costello right behind him.
And to be fair, through cops is basically flat out. You do have to lift on the throttle a touch to kind of pivot the car through the center of the corner, but you got to time that just right as you're basically going full speed to set yourself up for Maggots and Beckett's. But the problem is, if you run just a touch wide, you're going to spin some tire, and I'd be willing to bet that's what happened to Liam Mangan, who finds himself now in 7th place, and he's got a fight ahead of him if he's able to survive on the tires. Hopefully they didn't fry out, but it looks like Alfie Lawrence and Evan Rice are getting racy here at the beginning of the lap.
These two, I've seen Evan Rice in a while. I know he hasn't raced races, but Alfie Lawrence, we've seen him plenty of times fighting for these track positions around 5th and 6th, and for the podium position in the past. So this is familiar territory for him. Getting into some controversy in the previous few races. He wanted to keep it clean this time. Evan is in his way between him and 5th place. Max Lister is right ahead of Evan, so an opportunity for Alfie.
And of course, on the softer tire, I think it would be smart for Alfie to actually just kind of and let burn out his tires, because they're going to burn out quickly. Already 11 laps logged here at the British Grand Prix, and I expect Evan to be coming into the pits here soon. Don't quite know the pit window for the soft tire, expecting anyone to actually run them, to be fair. But we'll have to see. I think Alfie will kind of hang back a little bit, maybe conserve some fuel as he runs wide coming out of Stowe. Well, the strategy begins, it seems, here at the British Grand Prix. Craig Bashard leading now with, looks like a 11 and a half second lead for now over Sam Carpenter. Scott Davison right there as well. In fact, there could be a battle here for second place, as Carpenter has kind of got back into Scott Davison's clutches, and it's going to come down to Scott being able to find a little bit of speed. He will have DRS. Possibly set up for a pass. He will not. He's actually going to back off.
Impatient here. I think they both know pit stops are about to come. The pit window is about to open. So they don't want to take too many risks, but very important here to, because pit stop will be crucial in terms of track position when they're this close. Who decides to make the jump in first, get the undercut on the other car. But of course, track position was an important stage. So if Davison is far enough, but he does have DRS. He is closing in on the slipstream. Will he make a move into the inside here? Has a little look, but decides against it.
Carpenter has actually been running a little bit wide on entrance. I think he's just trying to square up the corner and get a better exit. It is kind of his driving style. He does run a little bit smooth, but he does like to enter the corner a little bit later. So could be trying to feign Scott into a move. That's potentially a thing, but Carpenter doesn't look like he quite has the front end to get through the slower corners. There's a potential here. Davison does have DRS. Carpenter trying to defend to the inside, listing lazily to the left as Davison tries the outside here, trying to set up the corner. Potential here for a run in left field onto the inside. Carpenter does take the position officially, but Davison actually takes the position. Carpenter did hang out to the outside, and that will not allow Carpenter to get the run needed to challenge. He does look to the inside through Cops. That's not a great idea. He's got to make sure he gets back on the racing line, and he does. Now making their way through Maggots. Carpenter smoking tire a little bit. He's trying to work the throttle and the brakes to get that car set into the corner. He has been having some front end issues, it seems, as the tires wear out, but now he's got himself into the slipstream. Close battling for second place, Nino, and I have a feeling, though, that Carpenter's going to have to dive into the pits here soon, because every time I see him in the corner and try to push just a little bit, the tires basically just turn into a huge smoke screen.
He is staying out for now. I think he really wants to take the risk into the first move. So if he feels like he can pick out a few more laps on these tires. Of course, with the shortened race, you would maybe expect just the one stop to go, but
the pits. Possibly trying the old undercut here. Brandon O'Hanlon find himself in 11th place. He should be passed here, I think, by Jericho Slovenek. But yes, he will. O'Hanlon now comes out onto the hards. I don't know if the hards are going to last the rest of the race, though. They do last forever, but I don't know if it's going to make it all the way through.
Got to do 17 laps. Those hard tires. Could be marginal, but I think maybe, I wouldn't say call it a safe option, but maybe a very conservative option there for Brandon. Doesn't really want to eke out on maybe another softer compound. Maybe try and make a 2-stop. Maybe feels like window that is gone. Don't know if Scott Davis and Sam Carpenter are trying to make the same, and Sam Carpenter does go into the pits.
Huge lock. Right there is the timing line. You got to be on the pit limiter at that particular line, and we'll have to see if Carpenter did make it through. Rice also into the pits.
Pretty sure they're both safe. Pit limit, obviously, not a very good situation if you do you break the pit speed limit. He didn't get those words out there.
That's a drive-through penalty, and that's awarded in game during the race, so it's a massive penalty, especially here at Silverstone. You got a bit of a long time spent on the limiter. The line actually before the turn. It looks like there's a bit of a race here between Nick Brackey and Philip Schiff.
Move around the outside
versus Saber. Oh, that was a great setup move by Brackey.
Great move by
Beautifully done. Nick Brackey showing the racecraft.
Pretty great move. I think Philip Schiff will have another look into the inside. Not a good idea.
Not a good idea at all, and it actually messed up his line.
Going to probably be a sitting duck for Sam Carpenter coming out of the S's.
Carpenter on the fresh hards. Still laying rubber down, though. Should be a pass here. Carpenter trying to move himself into 8th place and get behind his teammate. Oh boy, this is close. Oh, there's a spin.
Oh, and Philip Schiff takes a spin. I'm not sure if there was contact there. Had a very weird,
look like it.
A very weird camera angle. Didn't see if there was any contact. Hard to rejoin. He loses position. Might get in the way of Brandon O'Hanlon, and Jericho Slovin actually gets out of the way. He joins in 12th. That was a bizarre situation there. We'll see a replay.
If I'm not mistaken, Schiff actually started on the hard tires. So we're 16 laps in. The hard tires now possibly getting a little bit slippery, unless he's been pushing really hard. and the heat
Ooh,
deg
there
getting to
was
him.
slight contact between Philip Schiff and Sam Carpenter with set. Then Schiff spinning around, very slight contact there. But
I'm sorry. I'm gonna have to call that a racing incident. The reason why is because, Schiff off the track and spinning actually into the wall.
Oh.
He might have some. Oh yeah, he's got problems. Yeah, he's out of the race. That's unfortunate. But yeah, that's a straight up racing incident. When you're going through Stowe, it is off camber, and as you go towards the inside of the track, it gets more and more off camber. So you may not have quite the grip there that you think you have, and then suddenly your front end just barely touches out, and that right there is the. Oh boy, that's the result of that. That's a rough pill for Philip Schiff to swallow. But now 14 cars on the track. We have Max Lister coming into the pits from 5th place.
A replay of Philip Schiff there. I think he was trying to get into the slipstream of Jurka Slovinac, but a very jerky movement of the wheel. Just lost control. He just lost traction of his car, trying to get into the slipstream and crashed into the wall, and that ends his race. Max Lister does come out in the pits. 10th place behind Brandon O'Hanlon. Yeah, because Brandon O'Hanlon has already made this stop. Not sure what's happened there. We saw same Carpenter getting ahead of James Costello. Ozzy falling down to 6th place. Sam Carpenter continuing his drive through the fields after his pit stop. Pretty at the back of Liam Mangan. Not so long ago, these two were pretty much in a train cars with each other. Now Sam Carpenter's caught up Liam Mangan. A pit stop gap.
Davison into the pits.
Davison does come into the pits, and this will be crucial because Sam Carpenter is coming out into the final chicane, so we will see. Scott Davison has been released into the pits. That's Sam Carpenter coming out the final corner. It will be very close. It will be ahead. I think Sam Carpenter does get ahead. He does.
Just barely, yes.
So Carpenter getting track position on Davison, being the first to act, gets him the undercuts. Davison does have to make move on track now.
Alfie Lawrenson slots himself into 2nd place now. I don't believe he has pitted. Also coming into the pits was Liam Mangan, who is up in the top 5. He finds himself now in 8th place, so he's got a little bit of a drive to go through. We have actually passed the halfway point of the race, so strategies being thought of while the drivers make their way around Silverstone.
Greg Baxter is on his own in the lead. Still hasn't pitted yet. Comfortable with medium compound. Yet struggle have much over a pit stop gap to himself and the rest of the field. Pretty much. He does have to run another compound, either the softs or the hards.
Kazi into the pits.
Comes into pits from 5th place. He will fall behind Raki and Evan Rice. Come out. I think we're behind the train of Mangan and Brandon O'Hanlon.
Yep.
Even Lister will get ahead. Yeah, he will. Ozzy down to 10th.
Oh, he comes out on the softs.
Interesting.
So 14 laps. He's going to have to make the softs last 14 laps.
Sure about that one.
Me neither.
Softs hasn't been a compound that's been very favorable to the drivers for Silverstone this weekend. Interesting decision from Kozzy.
Indeed. Now, he's got some time to make up, though. I think he has the speed to get himself possibly back into the top 5. 13 laps to do it. That's going to be the tough part. And then he's also going to have to actually make those passes. That's the fun part. But Craig Baxter now leading the race. Alfie Lawrenson slots himself into 2nd place. Alfie has come into the pits, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh, he has not.
Okay, so he's made these mediums last 20 laps.
Yeah. Very, very good from.
Wow.
Very good from Lawrenson. This type of tire saving from someone like Max Lister. Previous races, but Alfie managing to last 20 laps on this set. He is being caught by Sam Carpenter and Scott Davison. What did rFactor 2nd and 3rd place cars on newer sets?
Scott Davison just logged a 131.6 for the fastest lap of the race. That right there is absolutely flying.
He's definitely pushing hard, and already is closed the gap to Sam Carpenter, who is now right at the back of Alfie Lawrenson. He might lose a bit more time. Scott Davison smells blood. In these two battle so many times in this race and over the season. We see another great battle commence once again here. Alfie Lawrenson might be very much involved in that. Considering he hasn't pitted and his tires are pretty much, say, 21 laps older. Each of these two drivers' cars, Sam Carpenter, have DRS, so he does open up. Alfie Lawrenson coming to the pits. A bit of a
history between these two as well. Yeah, Alfie, that's a perfect move. Alfie Lawrenson coming into the pits. He knew he was under attack from Sam Carpenter and Scott Davison, so he's going to have to lose those 2 positions. And I think he's going to lose a little bit more, as Alfie Lawrenson now will tumble down the field. Sam Carpenter slots himself in a 2nd, but there's going to be a fight there. Scott Davison is right there. Storied battles between these two. Oh, wait a minute. Davison looking, forcing Sam to actually brake late in order to keep that position, making his way through the loop. Now, out of Aintree, here comes the Wellington Straight. We could see a battle going into Brooklands, as Scott Davison has DRS open, and he looks to the inside. They both have the hard compound, so they should be fairly even as far as tire deck goes. But Carpenter just holding on to 2nd place for now, and Scott just basically showing him a wheel, pulling the old motorcycle trick, trying to get in ahead of Sam Carpenter. Sam, though, a very level-headed racer, doesn't allow himself to get shaken up by things like that. Alfie Lawrenson, though, has dropped down to 7th place behind Liam Mangan and Max Lister, finds himself in a north-south sandwich. The better question is Alfie actually east or west at this point? Oh my god, I made a compass joke.
Oh, no.
Good lord. We need a cringe counter for this stream. Jeez.
Very much. I felt that one.
But yeah, the racing's still hot and heavy between Sam Carpenter and Scott Davison, though. I think Scott has backed off just a little bit, possibly trying to save it for the end of the race. Does go wide out of the final corner, but he did lose time. Nick Brackey, who finds himself in 4th place, gets himself into the pits. He's going to tumble down the order, I believe. Yeah, there he goes. Liam Mangan will get the pass on him, so will Alfie Lawrenson. I think even Max Lister and James Costello will actually get a pass on that. There could be a pass there. I'm sorry, a bit of a race there.
Davison lining up Sam Carpenter. He's got the DRS open. Will he make a move? He decides against it. Carpenter again going defensive. Retains the position. These two are getting ever closer, lap by lap.
You know, I'm wondering if Davison is actually waiting for Carpenter to try to defend the inside.
Oh, he just
Davison way wide.
That was very wide there from Davison. I'm not sure why that was. Got into the slipstream. Maybe that surprised his missed his braking there because of the extra speed. But he's recovered well.
Yeah, speaking of extra speed, Davison looking at it. Oh, that's a risky move. Carpenter, I mean, he doesn't cut it off. That's the racing line. And Davison had to back off on that one. Got to be right next to each other in order for that move to work, to go to make a pass into Stowe. We mentioned it before. There was a little bit of an incident there. And that off-camber making Davison think twice about that move. And I think that's a good idea. But I still think Davison is trying to force Carpenter to defend the inside going into Brooklands, and that will give Davison the inside through Luffield, which is a slower corner and it's a longer corner. And I think that right there would give Davison the pass here. Oh, Carpenter to the inside. Davison now. Oh, it looks like he just didn't have the speed there.
That was very weird. He decided against following Carpenter with the slipstream. Tried to hold this line. But he does have a little bit.
Oh, a touch.
A little touch there. I think Davison was surprised about what Carpenter was going a bit faster there. May have been a slight touch. They escaped more damage. But as you see, these guys just going right at each other. I just love seeing these two drivers batting it out on track. These two guys know each other's drivecraft so well, and as Scott Davison goes to the left, does he make the move stick? Round the outside, he does!
God.
What a move by Davison, finally makes the move stick. Gets ahead of Carpenter for second place.
Oh, we have a retirement. Evan Rice has blown the engine.
Oh no.
Just steaming at the side of the track.
The replay there. Bizarre for him, for Evan Rice to see that. Fortunate. Another DNF for him, but go back to Davison and Carpenter. Carpenter once again has DRS on. Will he make a dive?
To the inside. Oh, that's a dive. That's a dive and a half. But Davison will have the inside here through Luffield. To be able to hold the line well. Oh man, Carpenter getting a little bit anxious on that. It's still got some time in the race. No need to go crazy for that. But Carpenter showing Davison that he means business, it seems. Oh man, that was close.
That was very close. Not sure Carpenter really needed to go take that risk to go for the move, but he's very anxious to reclaim that position back sooner rather than later. He knows Davison does have the potential to drive off into the distance. Doesn't want that to happen. Doesn't let DRS goes one tire on the grass there. Avoids anything else from that. These two keep going at it. Might stay like that till the end of the race.
Now we should mention, that Sam Carpenter, the recipient of a bit of a shunt in Turkey, so I kind of had a feeling that he was going to go a little bit more aggressive than he normally would here for this particular round. But I have to say, though, that a lot of the racing decisions that he's had to make this race have been actually quite fair. I mean, a bit of an incident earlier in the race he was involved in, but honestly, that, in my opinion at least, it seemed like a bit of a racing incident. I don't think that there were some expectations that were met, and there was the result of a spinning car. Of course, if you want to see that, you can see the replay a little bit later once the video is posted. The thing right now, though, is that Scott Davison has gapped out Sam Carpenter. The Sabre just doesn't seem to have the grip level that this Defiance car seems to have at this point. That said, I know that Carpenter has been smoking tire quite a bit through some of the faster corners, but there is still a chance here for Carpenter to catch Scott Davison. I have a feeling, though, it's going to take a couple of laps, so maybe we should check in with the rest of the field.
I'm showing a replay of Alfie Lawrenson making a move on Liam Mangum for fourth. Very good move. Liam does go left down the straight to defend. Alfie Lawrenson tried to follow through. Very aggressive of him. Does keep it clean though. Makes a great move for 4th place. Great redemption move from Alfie Lawrenson there.
Alfie's got to be on his tiptoes as well. He wants to have a clean race. Has a little bit of penalties built up. So I think this is his race to show that he can, not only can he run clean, but he can run with these guys without any incidents. And obviously, you know, he does like to race hard, and we love to see hard racing here, but you got to try to keep it as clean as possible. Little touches here and there are going to happen, but the driving standards are to be upheld for sure. And we know Alfie Lawrenson can do that. Maybe a little bit of frustration getting in the way, or just, you know, pulling the old Senna gap thing. But the boundaries have been pushed by Alfie Lawrenson, so he knows exactly where they're at now. And I think that a lot of people will be watching him close to see how he does while under pressure. And so far, kudos to him. I mean, he finds himself in 4th place. He's got an interesting race strategy running softs right now, and has made some good moves. So in my opinion, Alfie, you know, he's on the road to redemption, and this is definitely the race to be, you know, positioning yourself for something like that.
And then down in 11th, he did have to make a 2nd stop. He couldn't stretch those hard tires. Do the about 22 laps that we predicted he wouldn't be able to do. So he's come out on a 2nd set of softs. Right now in 11th after getting past Jurka Slovinac. Elsewhere through the fields, Rocky in 8th, Bone, Julian Klingmer, up his name there, apologize, but he's currently in the points in 9th. Solid race from him, as is Stefan Keimberger, but he will be soon under pressure from a very speedy Brandon O'Hanlon on a fresh set of soft tires. I don't know if he can hold that for any longer. And Cozzy, James Costello under pressure from the other north-south of Max Lister. It's Team Tepper against north-south racing once again, but it's this time it's the other 2 drivers going at it.
Kazi has the soft tires though, and I think it's pushing Max Lister's tires to the brink. Costello just having so much more grip. I do expect those to kind of start to die out here as in the final stages of this British Grand Prix. Lister basically just needs to stay patient, in my opinion. We'll have to see though. I mean, Costello has been shown to be able to save the tire fairly well, but he has been on those softs for quite a little bit. But maybe according to his calculations, it should work out. We'll have to see if Lister can actually close the gap and make a pass. But kudos again, I think, to Team North-South Racing, who are starting to string together some decent results. We've seen great speed out of both of these guys in the past. And it just, again, comes down to that consistency, Nino, that we talked about earlier.
Yep. Very much these 2 teams have been going at each other for so long. For the midfield, great to see another battle between them. Brandon Henlon does take 10th place from Stefan Kleinberger. I predicted faster than thought he would, but he does end up taking that 10th spot for points and shame from him considering he started from pole position, but how it goes. Arbiter still in touching distance of
big slide.
Until I say that, slides just as I say. He was making progress. Fortunate for him. Might be final nail in the coffin to maybe push her for another challenge for 2nd place here.
We mentioned the off-camber turn that is Stowe. It is quite tricky, you know, and if you're trying to make up some time, try to get on the throttle a little bit earlier than you normally would. If you're not quite off of the off-camber little section of that corner, that right there is what will happen. But Sam, the experience showing through right there. But now, unfortunately, he is out of DRS range. So he's going to have to catch Scott Davison the old-fashioned way through driving as rapidly as possible. That said, I mean, Carpenter can do it. He's shown a good Lord, a ton of speed. But Scott has had the edge over him these last few races. That said, if I'm not mistaken, Scott has had the older tire.
Cozy and Liam Mangan coming out side by side. Will Cozy make the move back? I think Liam Mangan was trying to... Still side by side.
Oh my god.
Wow.
Oh.
And he's trying to make a move on the inside. Cozy kind of moves over to give him a little block.
Oh, teammates, careful, guys.
Now Max Lister looking to see if he can make a move on his teammate. Sides against it, but yeah, bizarre move there.
Whoa.
By Liam Mangan, who falls behind James Costello, who takes 5th place there. Those soft tires are lasting very well.
Yeah.
To our surprise. For both Ozzy and Alfie Lawrenson. Turns out it was the right move for both of them. They're now 4th and 5th. Now it's the two North-South racing cars left to battling out with each other. I think Max Lister seems the more confident of the two. Come out for the train there, but
touch of a lockup there for Kazi. I'm actually watching his telemetry right now, and he has got that car dialed in nicely. Not a whole lot of steering input. Drifting to the inside here, trying to make sure he has the gap proper for Brooklands. That Wellington Straight can be a bit of a tough cookie if you don't get a great exit through Aintree, but Kazi showing the racecraft. I like what I'm seeing from him. The AOR commentator showing very well, but he is starting to kind of smoke that front tire a little bit. And not only is that going to slow it down, it's going to force him to try to save those tires to get through the next couple of laps. As we are nearing the end of the race here, a bit of a race between the two North-South squad as Liam overdrives Maggots and nearly piles it up in Beckett's, but now they both have DRS. Max Lister to the inside of his teammate. Oh, they're going to race each other hard. I like what I'm seeing here. These two love to race each other. They love to race hard as well, as Max Lister, looking to the inside again, decides not to jump on his teammate. And they haven't lost any time either to James Costello.
Bizarre. I think Costello made the move on Liam Mangan, and at the same time, I think his tires have now reached past their peak. And both North-South cars are keeping at him, even though they're battling each other. Bizarre here. Ozzy's struggling now.
Yeah, he is. He is struggling a little bit. The soft tire is starting to wear out for sure. Only 2 laps left in the race, though. And now is the time. Liam Mangan has a chance to strike. He's going to move to the outside here, try to get up alongside Costello. Actually, technically has made the pass. He's now be on the inside, but Kazi actually puts the power down and slots himself in front before they get into Luffield. Now Mangan has a bit of a battle here because he didn't get a great exit. He's got his teammate behind him. You would think that they would want to help each other out. Kazi slots to the inside, trying to fake out Liam Mangan on the harder compound tires. You would think that James Costello would have a little bit of a battle here now, as those tires have got to be wearing out. They're starting to get a little bit of heat tag. Smoking tire is James Costello, but Liam Mangan does back off a little bit. And now it looks like Nick Brackey will join the fray. A 4-way battle here for 5th place. Liam Mangan to the outside. This is dangerous. We've seen this happen before.
Oh my goodness.
Could stick a piece of paper between the two drivers as Costello still leading this pack. You can see Nick Brackey getting involved. It's a 4-way battle for 5th place. Liam Mangan now just barely sliding in front of James Costello. Costello still holding the inside.
Oh, contact! Touch. Contact there. Costello and Liam Mangan is the big loser out of all of them.
Oh, man. Lister, though, gets past Costello, and still a racer. Nick Brackey getting involved. Little touch between him and James Costello. Nick Brackey trying to hopefully get a little bit more points for his team Saber. But Liam Mengen has got to be kicking himself after that.
So quick switch.
Oh,
That's a great
brutal.
battle there. Quick switch back to the lead. Craig Baxter is about to come out the final corner and secure 7th win of the season here. He's finished there. He's won the race. Craig Baxter, yet another win for him. Scott Davison will come on in 2nd place. We want to switch back to maybe that battle between Costello and Nick Bracchi, and they're side by side again. I think this has gone past both of them. So Costello and Nick Bracchi. Brown Beckett's. They go. Can Cozzy retain 6th place? Nick Bracchi
I don't know if he has the drive.
I don't think so either.
Nick Bracchi looking racy, but Costello defending the inside. He's going to try to make this work now around the outside. They're both on the soft tires. Nick Bracchi making it a race for sure. Nearly forced off the track because of that move there. Costello trying to defend the inside, had just enough room to stop Nick Bracchi from the pass, but Nick diving to the inside for the final corner. Tires spinning up towards the inside.
No!
I believe there may have been contact, but he manages to keep it going. And Costello actually stopped before the start-finish line. That's not a great spot to stop. I don't know exactly what happened. I don't know if there was a break or what.
I think
he needs to escape out. That's not a great spot to stop, even at the end of the race.
Definitely. I think Cozzy kind of acknowledged his mistake there and tried to give the position back, but I think he still managed to cross the finish line before Nick Bracchi could regain the position. So Cozzy will take 6th. A bunch of incidents. Wow, that was that was an extraordinary last lap there. Those 4 cars, but we will switch back to the top 3 drivers: Craig Baxter, Scott Davison, and Sam Carpenter. They make their traditional formation, finish, the 3 of them. A great battle between Davison and Carpenter for 2nd place. We saw there great battle between both Tepper cars and both North-South cars, and Nick Bracchi, the other Sabre Racing car, at the end. Good lord. A lot to digest from that. I think
there's a whole ton to digest, actually. But fantastic race all around. Well done by everyone. And that's a good screenshot. I'm going to take that.
Oh, man. Personally, I think Cozzy, I can't remember which lap it was, 30 or 31, when he made the move on Liam Mangan. It seemed like we were talking about how extraordinary that he managed to make these his soft tires last for so long. And I think at that point was when they started to reach the cliff, and he lost a humongous amount of time. We're seeing both North-South racing cars driving each other, and they were still keeping on track with Costello. But Costello's tires really just completely dead right at the end. And unfortunately for Mangan, he ran the 4 cars there. Unfortunately, he had to be someone had to lose very much, lose big out there, and he was the big loser out of all of that. Top 3 lineup right next to the podium. Very much enjoyed there. We saw the traditional donuts from Craig Baxter and Scott Davison. Those 3 will line up. They will be our top 3 drivers for the Silverstone British Grand Prix.
Honestly, fantastic race, as always, here at Apex Online Racing in the rFactor series. A couple of dramatic moments, but all in all, I think a fairly clean race. I'm pretty sure there might be a couple of stewards inquiries, because there kind of always is. But a lot of racing incidences, I think, happened. But generally, I'm actually surprised. Usually there's quite a bit of contact here at Silverstone, because some of these corners are quite tricky. And I mean, all in all, it turned into a bit of a strategy race, turned into a close race between rival teams, which is what we want to see. And, a couple of people had to make their way through a pack. And overall, a great race. Hopefully, at the end of the day, this was entertaining for you guys in the chat. Thank you for tuning on in. This has been fantastic. I think we're going to try to get some interviews. Nino, shall I jump down there and see what's going on?
Yeah, go on. We will try and get the top three for interviews. This will go down there. Get those get our top three finishers. So all in all, that was a very entertaining race, even through the safety car debacle, if you say, where we had to kind of had a race restart. But even after that, thoroughly enjoyed that. I hope you all enjoyed that as well, just as I did from the commentary box, and I know Curtis did as well. Oh, he'll be back with the top three drivers.
All right, we're going to have a couple of people jump in here. Or did you go to break?
No, we're still talking.
Very good, very good. They should be making their way into the ready spot. Looks like Sam is here. Nino, I'll drag Sam in right here.
Okay.
Mr. Carpenter.
Hello.
How you doing?
Sweaty but good, all things considered.
For those wondering, you're in a VR headset, right?
Yes, I am, along with
Yeah.
Liam Mangan and a couple of others. I don't know, but yes, me and Liam are in Rifts.
So,
I'm not sure it's suitable for the stream, if I'm honest. What it was like when I took it
fair.
off.
You know what? That's fair enough. What is suitable for the stream though is that race.
Yeah. I don't really know where to start. Obviously, there was the whole safety car shenanigans at the start, out of our control. But yeah, it turned out to be a pretty decent race with Scott in the end.
Yeah, I mean, you guys battled for quite a while. More strategy, and then everybody just kind of caught up to each other. Talk us through a little bit.
Well, the start, it's just tire wear. Every race, I feel like I come into this interview finishing third or just outside, and it's just tire wear, the thing I talk about. But the main thing with Scott was that I had the pace through the much quicker corners, so Maggots, Beckett, Stowe, and in the slower loop-in sections, he just fired out the corners, and I was nowhere near by the time it came to the end of any DRS straight. So I had to sort of do it on the brakes and through the quicker corners, and that obviously even compounded the tyre wear that I already had. So if I'd spent maybe a little bit more time on setup, maybe things would have been different. But yeah, I gave him a good battle and didn't win, so got to try and win next time.
Was it the front end grip that you're having a problem with?
Yeah, Scott was having issues too in the dirty air, but I mean, I don't think I made an overtake coming from behind really into Brooklyn. No, I did actually. I made an overtake into Brooklands, but it was an absolute last minute dive, whereas he could get the move done before Brooklands and just be ahead because of the launch he gets out of the slower corners. So yeah, front end grip was most of it, but traction. If I'd have had traction, the front end grip would have been less of a problem.
Fair enough. Nino, questions?
Yeah, that was very I kind of, even though obviously it was kind of ruined with the right after. Talk about the start, considering Brandon had a very poor start. Considering he was right ahead of him, what were your plans there? Considering the start, were you anticipating that he would not get a good start, or if he had a great start, you'd slot it right behind him? What do you think plans were after that?
Well, with Brandon before the race, he was, because I was not having a good pre-race at all, and I mean I had absolutely no sleep last night, so I was almost dead coming into this race. But then, the adrenaline of the race, and you stop feeling tired as soon as lap one happens. But
Oh sure.
Brandon was my target today, and he had the absolutely atrocious race. So, I mean, Scott was then the target from then, and I was very surprised I was able to keep up with Scott because he was looking good. So. Yeah, at the start, once Brandon really fell back with that launch, my plan was to just try and keep ahead of Craig for as long as I can. Obviously, it's kind of inevitable that he's going to get past, but I hope Scott hits problems and try and just keep a car between us. So yeah, I mean the Defiances are racing each other. I don't think there's any sort of team orders or anything to stop me in that kind of team dynamic. So I mean, just try and keep Scott behind, try and get away, and obviously it didn't work because as soon as Craig got past, Scott was a second behind in DRS and all over me again. So again, I need to just work on the setup, try and stay ahead more.
Well, I think it was a fantastic race, especially towards the end there, and you guys kept it clean. There was a bit of an incident, I believe that was with you.
Oh yeah, I kind of forgot about that.
What do you was there? I mean, it looked like you kind of held your line, but it also looked like maybe you cut down because you didn't realize he was there. Do you need to review the replay?
Is this with Scott or with Craig?
No, this was. I think that was
This
with
was with Craig.
Yeah, at Luffield.
Yeah,
Well, I want to obviously give a fight. I mean, even if it is inevitable that it's going to come through, if I can hold on for another corner, or in this case, if you stay ahead in front of Luffield, you're probably going to stay ahead until Stowe. That can be the difference between whether or not I stay ahead of Scott. So you've got to, even if the person is a lot faster than you, if it's for position, you're not on a different strategy. You've got to try and stay ahead. So I did. I tried staying alongside into Luffield, and then if you go side by side through Luffield, it's 50-50 who's going to be ahead into Cops. I had my line to the inside. Craig gave pretty much a car's width from what I remember, but I mean when the front's washing out through that corner, it's just you're pushing out that whole time with the front end. A
sure.
tiny little bit of contact, and I was round. It kind of surprised me that I'd spun that much from that tiny little contact, but again, you've seen that in real F1 with say Vettel in Kota last year. So it's just luck of the draw.
Fair enough, man. All right, let's we'll if you don't mind, can you hang back a little bit? We gotta chat about a couple things.
Okay.
All right, I'll move you up, and we'll get Scott in here. Let's see here. Do this. Scott, can you hear us?
Yeah.
Hey, there we go. Second place for you.
Mm-hmm.
No adventures of pulling off the headset, I suppose.
No, I've everything's fine on my end.
So, adventures on track, though. Take us through the race a little bit.
Well, firstly, I had a bad qualifying. I was on a pole lap, a lap that would have gave me pole, and I don't mute in Discord, so all I heard was Craig like, "Oh, Scott's got pole, Scott's got pole." So I had the pressure, and then I get the chapel, and I just spin. I was like, "Oh, good." But then obviously we had the first start where I gained a couple of places and the safety car was bugged, so we red flagged it. Then we had the second restart where I had a oak where I passed Evan after a lap. I then passed Max, but then I hit a curb and spun, so I had to re-overtake Max. And then I had to chase Sam, and it's quite hard to follow at Silverstone. So I was stuck behind him for a while, but I eventually got past him around the outside of Brooklyn, and then did the extra few laps on my stint on him, so I came out behind him. And then he was quite quick on hard, so I was mainly just following him for most of the time. Then I got past him, and he was always within a second of me, so it was definitely a race of concentration. It was a sweaty affair, let's put it that way.
A sweaty affair indeed. Oh man. It was, well, I can tell you this was entertaining on our end, and highly recommend going back and watching it for sure, man.
I will. It was a fun race. Obviously, you had Craig light years out in front, which is what's pretty standard. But yeah, it's fun battling Sam. So move on to Spa, which I don't really like. So
Oh, reasons?
I've just never liked it. Like turn one, I hate my worst corner on the calendar, and like the middle sector, I'm not a big fan of. I've just never gone well at Spa. I don't know why.
Well, now's the time for redemption.
I'll try.
Nino, I don't know if you had anything. Kind of took over there.
Considering the qualifying, obviously, the whole lap kind of ruined there. You have to adjust your, any strategies that you were looking forward to, 9th or 10th, or was it just straight on? I'm quicker than most of the guys in front of me. I know I'm gonna get these positions very early on. I'm just gonna keep on doing the same.
It put me under pressure against Sam, and like it made the first stint a bit more tricky as dirty air and the car was snappy. But other than that, the only thing that affected it was I had a bit more tire wear being in dirty air, so I couldn't go into softs at the end. I went into hard. But other than that, it wasn't too bad. I managed to get the positions pretty quickly.
Good to hear, Scott. I think we're gonna call it there. Thanks for the entertaining race. It was fantastic. Well done.
Thank you, and good stream.
Indeed. I'll move you up. Well, let's get our winner in here, Mr. Baxter.
Hello, hello.
Um, well, bit of a boring race for you towards the end there.
Yeah. I mean, I was a bit sad about Sam spinning around because I wanted to at least make it a little bit longer. Yeah, pretty straightforward. Probably the first stint was one of the best I've had in the whole 3 seasons. So, pretty solid first stint.
It sounds like my brother is working on his boat, so we're having hammering noises. Literally, the workshop is aflame at this point, trying to fix all the cars. Kappa, we, you're usually pretty smart about the tire wear situation. We actually saw a few people take softs towards the end of the race.
Yep, that's why I did as well.
Yeah, I'm surprised they lasted as long as they did.
The railroad was pretty heavy. We also got helped a lot from the safety car, so it sort of got rid of 4 laps of actual racing, so that helped as well. I still think I would have been able to do it despite that. We are on the 3 hardest compounds this season.
Yeah.
It's the first time we've used them, so yeah. I mean, last season it was also a 1-stop, so this season's no different really. So yeah, it's pretty good when the tires aren't a massive concern and you can actually push with them. It's good fun.
Moving into Spa. You've mentioned before that Spa is not exactly your favorite track.
Yep. Do not like the track at all.
Any expectations? I mean, are you expecting more of the field to challenge for the lead, or give you a run for your money?
It's all going to be about staying in the slipstream. It's the same as last season. You've seen that it was all about sitting behind someone, saving fuel. That hopefully won't be as big of an issue, so that I can try and break away. But starting first in Spa is never great. So I might need to come up with a few tricks if I do put it on pole into turn 1 to maybe fall into second place running up the hill. But I don't know. I guess Spa's just going to come down to what happens on lap 1, and probably going to try and run off if it's possible with fuel.
Just remember, if I sense that you're pushing the purple button, I'm going to call it out.
We might,
right, Craig.
we might see some people blow up, I think, in Spa with quali boost. I think that might be something that will happen.
All right then. Spa is next week, yes.
Yes.
So, all right, Craig. Well, thanks for everything, man. Good race.
Cheers.
Well, I'll move you out of here just so we can make it smooth. Well, Nino, fantastic run. That was a great race.
That was great. Yeah, even with the safety car situation, that kind of delayed us a bit there. We still got a great race, a great entertaining watch out of it. Battles throughout the field, and yes, Craig Baxter kind of won there pretty much unchallenged throughout, but it was entertaining throughout. We saw battles right at the end. Carpenter and Davison, another battle between those two that I'm pretty sure we'll be seeing for many races to come, for many seasons to come. Yeah, wouldn't a great watch. Wouldn't change about it, except the safety car situation.
Except the safety, yeah, but that's unprecedented. Honestly, we've never had that happen before.
Yeah.
So guys, thank you for joining in today. It's been an awesome race. Obviously, we had a little bit of hiccups, but I think that the coordinators really proved themselves and were able to keep it all under control and get the race underway. Thank you for tuning in here at Apex Online Racing. You can get more information on this league and all the other ones that AOR runs at apexonlineracing.com. Of course, join us on Twitter at Apex on Racing. For Nino, it's been fantastic. This is Curtis Kenyon signing off for the weekend. We'll see you next week at Spa for the Belgian Grand Prix.
See you later, guys.